Questions. Just out of speech, hook with humor plus curiosity to good morning, my dear friends. Questions. Let me ask you something. How many of you here hit snooze more than once in the morning? Raise your hand. Yes, I see you. Questions. And how many of you check phone within the first 60 seconds of waking up? Very honest crowd. I like you already. Questions. Now, imagine this. You just working up, below still warm. And instead of peace, boom, WhatsApp messages, news, emails, questions. Instagram reels of someone's Bali vacation while you're stuck in traffic later. Questions. And you wonder, why do I feel so mentally exhausted by 10 a.m.? The truth is how you start your morning is how your mind runs the day. Questions. And today, I want to share with you something very close to my heart. Piat early morning keys to master your mind. Questions. If you can win your mornings, you can win your mind. And if you can win your mind, you can win your life. Questions. Let's begin up with intention, not alarm. You see, most of us wake up to an alarm, but not to a purpose. The alarm is loud. Questions. Purpose is silent, but is the silent purpose that gives your day a voice. I often say, but don't just wake up to a clock. Questions. Wake up to a calling is set an intention the night be. Something as simple as tomorrow. Questions. I will wake up peacefully and spend time with my mind. Let your thought be deliberate, not default. Questions. The piatunit mind cleanse before touching the phone. I know that phone is calling you like a sweet jailbird. Questions. But resist for just piat minutes. Sit in silence, eyes closed, no phone, no agenda. Just breathe. I call it the mind cleanse. Questions. Because just like we brush our teeth to clean our mouth, we need to brush our mind to clean our thoughts. Questions. Even just minutes of silence can stop you from reacting and help you start responding. Questions. Remember, the first person you must talk to in the morning is yourself. Questions. You feed the mind before the body. What's the first thing most people eat in the morning? Breakfast, right? Questions. But my question is, what are you feeding your mind? Is it the negativity of the news or the nourishment of a good book? A quote. Questions. Or a thought. Start your day with a piece of wisdom. One verse of the Bhagavad Gita. One motivational quote. Questions. One page of a spiritual book. Because your mind lies like soil. Whatever seed you plant first grows the fastest. Questions. You move your body to move your mind. We often think exercise is only for the body. Questions. But let me tell you, movement is medicine for the mind. When you walk, stretch, do yoga. Questions. Or breathe deeply, your body releases endorphins. Your brain says questions. I'm happy even 10 minutes of movement can change your entire mental state for the day. A healthy body leads to a focused mind. Questions. Gratitude journaling, count blessings, not problems. Most people wake up and think, oh no, I have to go to work again. Try instance, wow, I have work to go to. Thank you. Our gratitude is a perspective shift. It doesn't change your situation. Questions. It changes you in the situation. Write down 3 things you're grateful for each morning. Questions. Science says it rewires your brain for optimism and resilience. Spirituality says it opens the door to joy. Questions. Most people wake up because their alarm tells them to. The sharp Questions. Jarring sound of a phone or alarm clock becomes the trigger that forces us out of bed, usually in a panic. Questions. But here's the truth: waking up to an alarm clock is not the same as waking up to life. Questions. There's a difference between waking up by default and waking up by design, and that difference can change your entire life. Questions. Let me give you an example. Imagine a student who has to wake up at 6:00 a.m. for a school exam the night before. Questions. He sets alarms on his phone. He's nervous. The alarms are loud. He wakes up groggy, hits snooze a few times. Questions. And finally rose out of bed with a racing heart and a mind full of worry. He rushes to get ready. No peace. No preparation. Questions. Just panic. Now imagine another student. She also has exam at the 6:00 a.m. But the night before. Questions. She sets not just her alarm, she sets her intention. She tells herself, or tomorrow, I'm going to wake up peacefully. Questions. Who revise calmly, I will be confident. She visualizes her morning. She sleeps with clarity. And when the alarm rings. Questions. It's not a disturbance, it's a reminder. She wakes up with purpose. Who do you think performs better? Not just on the test. Questions. But in life, it's not the one who wakes up early. It's the one who wakes up intentionally. You see. Questions. We spend so much time to manage our time, but very little time trying to manage our state of mind. Questions. Waking up with intention is about creating a moment of alignment before the chaos of the day begins. Your alarm is a tool. Questions. But your intention is your power. Let's take another simple example. Have you noticed how you wake differently on a vacation? Questions. Think about the last time you had a flight to catch for a holiday. You were excited. You were awake even before the alarm. Questions. You jumped out of bed, packed your bags, smiled while brushing your teeth. You had a spark. Why? Questions. Because you weren't waking a task. You were waking up to a feeling. That feeling was your intention. That's what drove you. Questions. Now imagine if you could bring that same energy not just on holidays, but on ordinary days. Mondays, Wednesdays, post. Questions, even those dreaded Sundays before a long work week. The problem isn't that we hate mornings. Questions. The problem is that our mornings have no meaning. If you wake up just because you have to go to work. Questions. Then every morning will feel like a burden. But if you wake up because you forget to live another day, you've already won. Questions. Waking up with intention means asking yourself, but why am I getting out of bed today? Is it to grow, to serve, to love, to create? Post. Questions. To simply be better than yesterday? The answer does have to be dramatic. Even something simple like, but today I will speak kindly. Questions. You are today I will not rush. But today I will not compare myself. These little intentions shape big outcomes. Post. Questions. It's like programming your internal GPS. If you don't set a destination, you just drive around aimlessly all day. Post. Questions. And that's what many of us do. We go from task to task, stress to stress, without ever checking if we are actually living. Questions. Or just reacting. Let me share a story. There was once a young monk who asked his guru, but how do I master my mind? The guru replied. Post. Questions. I begin by mastering your mornings. The monk was confused. But is it really that simple? The guru smiled and said, yes. Post. Questions. Because your morning is the door between your inner world and the outer world. If you step out of it with awareness, questions, you'll carry the awareness all day. But if you stumble aloud in a rush, your whole day will trip over that energy. Questions, either teaching is eternal. Waking up with its intention is not about changing your job, your routine, or your alarm tone. Questions, it's about changing your first thought. When your eyes open, pause. Before you check your phone, check your heart. Questions, before you jump to email, jump into silence. Before you rush to the world, return to yourself. Post questions, even just seconds of intention can give you more clarity than just hours of distraction. So tomorrow morning, try this. Questions, before you go to sleep tonight, whisper intention to yourself. Just one, like planting a seed. Then, questions, when you wake up, water that seed with awareness. Sit still for a moment, smile, breathe, and say, this is my day, this is my mind. Questions, and I choose to use it with purpose. Because you're not here just to exist. You're here to live, not to survive mornings, questions, but to rise with them. And that rise begins not with the sound of an alarm, but with the voice of your own intention. Questions. We live in a world where the first thing many people touch in the morning is not their heart, not their breath. Post questions, not their thoughts of their phone. Think about it. The moment you wake up, before your feet even touch the floor, questions, your fingers are already swiping, notifications, messages, emails, breaking news, someone's birthday, someone's tragedy, questions, some breakfast, all pouring into your mind before your own day has even begun. And we wonder why we feel stressed by day at AM, questions, anxious by noon, and completely drained by evening. Your mind, my friends, is like a still lake early in the morning. Calm, quiet, questions, reflective, but the moment you throw in 100 stones of external ripples begin to disturb the surface, questions, and the clarity disappears. That's why always saber, you cleanse your face, cleanse your mind. Questions. The 5-minute mind cleanse is not a luxury. It is a necessity, especially in the age we live in. Let me take you into a real-life example. Imagine this. A young mother wakes up at 6:30 a.m. Questions. The first thing she does is pick up her phone from under a pillow. She scrolls messages from the school group. Questions. Sees some social media post, reads a news headline about a political issue she has no control over. Questions. And suddenly her heart rate rises. Her child walks into the room and she's already irritated. Questions. Her mind has been hijacked before the day has even begun. Now let's look at another version of her. She wakes up at 6:30 a.m. Questions. And instead of reaching for the phone, she sits up in bed. She places one hand on her chest, the other on her lap, and just closes her eyes. She breathes deep and slow, no thoughts, no judgment, just breathe. She notices the quiet. Questions, the soft hum of the ceiling fan, the warmth of the blanket, the silence of the house. She offers a small smile not to anyone. Questions, but to herself. She simply exists in stillness for minutes. Her child walks in, and she greets with a calm presence. Questions, the day hasn't changed, but she has. That is the power of the 5-minute mind cleanse. It's a sacred pause. Questions, a way to say to the universe, but before the world ends my mind, let me enter myself. You see. Questions. Most of us shower our bodies every day. We take care to look good on the outside. But the mind, which carries our thoughts, questions, emotions, responses, and reactions, that part remains clogged, untouched, unmanaged. Questions. Would you wear yesterday's dirty clothes every day without washing them? Of course not. Questions. But we wear yesterday's mental patterns every morning without clearing them. This 5-minute practice is your mental shower. Questions. Your spiritual bath. Your emotion-rich button. And here's the beauty: you don't need a meditation app. Questions. You don't need background music. You don't even need a cushion. You just need you. Sit, close your eyes, breathe. Questions. Even if your mind is racing, don't fight it. Just observe. Even if thoughts come, don't chase them. Let them pass. Questions. Like clouds in a clear sky. You are the sky, not the clouds. Do it for 5 minutes. Even 3 minutes is a beginning. And slowly, questions, you'll notice the magic. A still mind makes better decisions. A calm mind speaks kinder words. Questions. A focused mind doesn't get lost in distraction. Let me tell you a story. Post questions. There was once a businessman who approached a wise monk and said, "But I am always stressed, distracted, and angry." Questions. What should I do? The monk replied, "Per every morning sit alone for 5 minutes. Do not. Say nothing. Breathe." Questions. Either man laughed, "Oh, that's it. That won't solve my problems." Either monk smiled and said, "But it won't solve your problems." Questions. It will solve you. Days turned into weeks, and the man started the practice. At first, it felt strange, but slowly. Questions. Something began to shift. He didn't snap at his employees as much. He listened more. He felt less overwhelmed. Post questions. Not because his problems disappeared, but because he stopped carrying them all the time. That's what the 5-minute cleanse does. Questions. It releases the mental baggage you didn't know you were carrying. It helps you become the master of your morning. Post questions. Instead of a slave to your screen. I'm not saying don't check your phone. Check yes after you've checked in with yourself. Ask yourself questions. But how am I feeling today? What kind of energy do I want to bring into the world? What can I let go before the day begins? These simple reflections, questions, done in silence, change how you show up, not just in your home, but at work, with friends, in your goals, and in your failures. Questions. Because a clean mind is a creative mind. A clean mind is a kind mind. A clean is a powerful mind. So tomorrow morning, post questions. Before your thumb reaches for the phone, let your heart reach for peace. Before you scroll through noise, sit in stillness. Questions. Before you consume the world, connect with your soul. Just a minute's questions. That's all it takes to change the way you live the next 15 hours. Questions. Because the most valuable notification you'll ever receive is the one your soul gives you in silence. Questions. Imagine this. Two people up in the same city, on the same morning, in the same kind of weather. Questions. One looks out of the window and thinks, "Bug, another gloomy day. I'm already late, traffic will be horrible." Questions. And my boss is going to ruin my mood again. The other looks out and says, "Another day to be alive. I get to try again today." Questions. Thank you, same city, same morning, same weather, but completely different mindsets. What's the difference? In life, questions. We don't see things they are, we see them as we are. questions. And the lens through which we view our lives can either make us feel like we are drowning in problems or floating in blessings, questions. That lens is shaped every morning by what we focus on. And that's where gratitude journaling comes in. Questions. Let me give you a simple example. A man once told me, "For my life is full of problems. I have no reason to be grateful." I said, "Okay, post questions. Can you write just the things that went right yesterday?" He thought for a while and said, "Well, I woke up healthy." Questions. I had food on my table, and I made it back home safe from work. I smiled and said, "But exactly." Questions. You just found miracles you didn't even notice yesterday. You see, gratitude isn't about having a perfect life. Questions. It's about noticing the perfect moments hidden inside your imperfect life. Questions. The act of journaling, truly writing down what you're grateful for, makes the abstract real. When your thoughts become words, questions, your feelings become truth. And this isn't just spiritual talk, it's science too. Questions. Studies show that people who practice daily gratitude journaling experience reduced stress, improved sleep, questions, and higher emotional resilience. Why? Because your brain, when trained to notice the positive, rewires itself to expect the positive. Questions. Let's bring this closer to everyday life. Picture a young woman working a corporate job. Every morning she wakes up, questions, dreading the traffic, the meetings, the emails. She's constantly overwhelmed. Then one day she decides to try something different. Questions. She keeps a small notebook by her bed. Each morning, before she does anything else, she writes down things she's grateful for. Questions. At first they are basic. I woke up on time. My coffee tasted good. My mom called me yesterday. After a few days, questions. Her journal entries start to shift. I handled that difficult meeting better than I expected. I laughed with my team at lunch. Questions. I felt calm during my drive home. Do you see the change? Her life hasn't become easier, awareness has become richer. Questions. Grat is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. Now, questions. Let me ask you, ever lost your phone for a few hours? Or your internet for a day? Questions. What was the first thing you said when it came back? Or thank God, that's gratitude. But unfortunately, for many of us, questions. Gratitude only after we lose something. Why wait? Why not practice appreciating things before they disappear? Questions. That's the essence of gratitude journaling. And it doesn't have to be complicated. You don't need a fancy notebook or expensive pens. Questions. You just need a moment of mindfulness and a willingness to notice what's already beautiful in your life. Write things like questions. I am grateful for this cup of warm tea. I am grateful for my ability to walk. I am grateful for the sound of rain today. Questions. Even the smallest things, when seen through the eyes of gratitude, become a source of joy. Questions. Let me tell you about a monk I once met in Rishikesh. Every morning after his meditation, questions, he would sit with a torn notebook and write down things he was grateful for. I asked him one day, "But what do you write?" Questions. You don't have money, a phone, or even proper clothes. He smiled and said, exactly. I am grateful I don't have those distractions. Questions. I'm grateful I have breath. I'm grateful I have silence. I'm grateful I have purpose. Questions. That day I understood gratitude isn't about having more. It's about noticing more. And it's contagious. Questions. When you start your day with gratitude, it radiates into your interactions. You complain less. You criticize less. You forgive faster. Questions. You smile more. People around you feel your energy shift, even if you don't say a word. Because when the heart is full, questions, the mouth speaks less nonsense. Now, imagine what happens when you do this every day for a week. Amaniyat. Questions. Your perspective begins to transform. You stop looking for what's missing and start seeing what's already present. Questions. You don't need a reason to be thankful. You just need an open heart. So tomorrow morning, before you check your phone, questions, check your blessings. Pick up a notebook or even the notes app on your phone and write down just things you're grateful for. Questions. Do it for yourself, because the mind that counts blessings doesn't have time to count problems. Questions. And the heart that remembers to say a thank you every morning finds joy before the day has even begun. Questions. Every morning we rush to feed our bodies. It's automatic. We brush our teeth. We prepare our breakfast. Questions. And we eat because we know without food our body won't function. But how many of us stop and ask questions? The what have I fed my mind today? Let me tell you something. Your body's breakfast, but your mind needs it even more. Questions. The world today is loud. The moment you open your phone, turn on the news, or scroll through social media, questions. You're already consuming mental calories. Some of it is junk food. Some of it is poison. Very little of it is nourishment. Questions. We eat. Yes, but more intently, we become what we repeatedly consume. If every morning your first mental meal is stress, questions, comparison, news panic, and online noise, what kind of energy do you expect to carry through the day? Questions. There was a young man who once told me, I wake up feeling fine, but by the time I get to work, I already feel tired. I asked him questions. What's the first thing you do in the morning? He said, check my phone, see the news, see what I missed while I was asleep. Post questions. I said, exactly. You did miss the news, self. The mind, when freshly awake, is like wet cement. Questions. Whatever impressions you leave early in the morning, they stick. So if you start your day with fear, gossip, arguments, questions, or distraction, your whole mental foundation becomes fragile. But if you feed your mind something peaceful, wise, questions, and inspiring, it becomes your strength. Let's take a practical example. Think of two people. One wakes up, picks up the phone, questions, opens Instagram. The first thing he sees is someone flaunting a new car, someone else getting engaged, post questions, and someone showing a vacation in the Maldives. He hasn't even brushed his teeth yet, and he already feels behind in life. Questions. He starts comparing. He feels anxious. The day has already lost its balance. Now picture another person. She wakes up, questions, sits in stillness for a moment, then open a bunza book of wisdom, maybe a spiritual text, a motivational passage, or even a simple quote. Questions. She reads, today is a new beginning. Do not carry yesterday into today's possibility. She smiles. She thinks, yes, questions. I will carry light into this day. Same world, same responsibilities. But her mind has been fed with clarity, not clutter. Post questions, that small change. It's the difference between feeling lost and feeling led. When we think about feeding the mind questions, we often imagine it has to be complex or time-consuming, but it doesn't. It can be as simple as questions. Reading a few lines from a spiritual book, listening to 30 minutes of a motivational talk, motivational, on a meaningful affirmation, reflecting questions. On a lesson from the previous day, saying a morning prayer of thanks and guidance. These are mental nutrients, questions, and they are more important than any protein shake you'll drink. There's a story I love. A boy asked his grandfather questions. "Oh, why do I always feel like there are two voices inside me, pulling me toward anger, fear, and greed, and the other toward peace, questions, love, and kindness?" Either grandfather replied, "Because there are two wolves inside all of us, constantly fighting." Either boy asked questions. "Though which one is it?" The grandfather smiled and said, "The one you feed. Every morning when you choose what to listen to, questions, what to read, and what to think about, you are feeding a wolf. Feed the wrong one, and your day is ruled by ego, fear, questions, and restlessness. Feed the right one, and you walk through day with compassion, strength, and clarity." Now, some people say questions that I don't have time. Each of them I ask, do you have time to check your own for 15 minutes? Because if we have time to scroll questions, we have time to soul. Even 5 minutes of good mental food can outlast hours of chaos. When you feed your mind first, questions, you become responsive instead of reactive. You begin to lead your life, not chase it. You speak with calm, not conflict. Questions, you listen better. You think clearer. You remember what matters. Let's look at it another way. If you had a plant in your home, questions, and every morning you poured soda, oil, and chemicals into it, what would happen? The kid would wither, die. Questions. But if you gave it clean water and sunlight, would grow. Your mind is that plant. Questions. Every thought you feed it is either water or poison. So tomorrow morning, ask yourself not post questions. For breakfast, but what's my mind consuming right now? Begin your one day with that uplift you. Questions. What sentence that makes you feel grounded? What thought that makes you grateful? It doesn't have to be long. It just has to be real. Post questions. Because you are not here to survive the day, you are here to master it. And mastery begins in the mind. So feed it well. Questions. Because the quality day is not defined by what happens to you, but by what happens when you right at the start. And that, questions, starts with what you choose to feed your beautiful mind. Questions. It's often said that the mind and body are separate. Questions. But anyone who has ever felt anxious knows your thoughts can make your heart race. Questions. Anyone who's ever been joyful knows your body moves with more energy. The truth is, questions. The mind and body are not separate passengers in life. They are two legs of the same journey. When you move one, the other moves too. Questions. Let's be honest, most people start their day dragging themselves out of bed like a half-charged phone. Tired, stiff, slouched. Questions. They go straight from bed to bathroom to breakfast to bus or bike or car. There's no real movement. just transition. Questions. But there's a powerful principle hidden here. Motion creates emotion. That means how you move affects how you feel. Questions. When you move with energy, your brain responds with clarity. When your body wakes up fully, so does your focus. Questions. Imagine a lap that's never restarted. You keep opening tabs, switching windows, and never giving it time to refresh. Eventually, questions. It slows down, overheats, or even crashes. That's your brain when your body hasn't moved. When your breath is shallow, questions, and your posture is lazy. Now imagine this. You wake in the morning, you step outside or onto your mat, and you stretch. Questions. You lift your arm to the sky, breathe deeply, and move your spine in gentle motions. Your blood flows. Your chest opens. Questions. Your lungs expand. Your heart rate rises, just enough to remind your body that you are alive. Pose questions. That on gesture, act movement can be the spark that lights your entire mental day. Let me take you into a real-life example. Post questions. There was a young man who used to feel stuck every morning. His thoughts were foggy, his motivation was low. Questions. And he didn't know why. He tried journaling, he tried reading, he even tried drinking 3 cups of coffee. Nothing helped. What a questions. Someone told him, we'll just move for 8 minutes in the morning. Walk, stretch, dance, anything. Questions. He laughed it off. For what can 8 minutes do? But he decided to try. He walked outside for 8 minutes after waking up. No phone. Questions. No distractions. Just movement and breath. After a few days, something shifted. He didn't just walk better, he thought better. Questions. His mind was less cloudy. He started solving problems instead of avoiding them. Questions. Not because life changed, but because his energy changed. That's the secret. Our mind is often trapped in stories of worry, fear, questions, and doubt. But the body, when moved, has the power to shake those stories loose. A walk can soften your stress. Questions. A few stretches can lift your mood. Few minutes of yoga or jumping jacks can flip the switch from I can't to I can. Questions. Even spiritual texts remind us this body is a temple. Not just because it's sacred. Questions. But because what you do with your body affects what you feel in your mind. And you don't have to be an athlete. Questions. You don't need to run a marathon. All you need is intentional movement. Even the ancient yogis knew this. Before meditation, questions. They didn't just sit. They moved the body, loosened the muscles, opened the lungs. Why? Because a tense body creates a tense mind. Questions. And a tense mind cannot find peace. I remember once meeting an elderly man in a village in Maharashtra. He was Visimdesi Chotiri years old. Questions. Still walk without a stick. Still smile like a child. I asked him, "Po, what's your secret?" He said, "A beater." Pose questions. I stretch my arms to the sun every morning. Then I while chanting. If the body moves, the heart sings. And if the heart sings, questions. The mind rests. Is so simple, so profound. In today's world, we don't sing with the heart. We scroll with our thumbs. Questions. We don't walk with our thoughts, we sit with them until they pile up. And then we wonder why we feel overwhelmed. Questions. The solution is often not in thinking more. It's in moving more. Questions. Even a few minutes of early morning motion activates the brain chemicals dopamine, serotonin, endorphins. Questions. You don't need a reason to feel good, just need to move. The body leads. The mind follows. There's a beautiful saying, questions. The body is the vehicle. The mind is the driver. But even the best driver can't go you anywhere if the vehicle won't start. Questions. So start your body. Turn the key with movement. You don't need a genome. You don't need a trainer. Questions. You just need commitment to take care of the one machine you'll use every day of your life, your body. Try it. Tomorrow morning, questions. Before anything else, take 10 minutes to move, stretch, walk, breathe deeply while doing it. Questions. And notice how your mental fog starts to clear. Notice how your emotions shift. Notice how the day feels a little less heavy. Questions. You'll begin to realize that movement is not just physical, it's mental, it's spiritual, it's emotional. Questions. Because every step you take in the morning is not just a step for the body, it's a step away from overthinking. Questions. And a step toward inner balance. Move your body, and you'll find your mind moves with you toward clarity, strength, and joy.